So, a lot of traders tend to think that their biggest problem is their strategy. However, their biggest problem is really the emotional meaning that they have attached towards money. Because that is what's going to determine when you enter a trade, when you exit a trade, and how you feel when you're actually holding that trade. Because as we can all agree, trading does have its technicalities to it. However, trading is majority psychological, right? So, if your relationship with money is unstable or it's a little off, then your execution in your trades will reflect that. So, let's talk about something that traders don't really see to understand that they're doing it, okay? See, a lot of traders aren't even afraid of losing their money. What they're afraid of losing is their profit, okay? What they're afraid of losing is their profit. Now, stick with me now, stick with me. So, like we said, a lot of traders aren't afraid of losing their money. What they're afraid of losing is their profits. So, when price tends to move in their favor, and then it pulls back just a little, suddenly they get the urge to actually close out their trades. Now, it's not because the trade was invalid, it's because they've already determined that profit that they seen was theirs. And that's when psychology kicks in. See, when traders tend to see green, they instantly think that that's mine, that's mine. So when the trade begins to retrace, they no longer see that as normal movement. What they see, I don't even have my red marker, but what they see is something being taken from them. Okay? Now, give me a second. Okay, I can't find my real marker, so fuck it. But, like I said, they feel like something is being taken from them. So, they tend to close their trades early now. They're closing their winners early. And that's because they're trying to protect a feeling rather than executing their trade fully. Okay? You need to understand that unrealized profits do not belong to you. And if you always trade as if these unrealized profits belong to you, then you will always close your trades early instead of fully letting them play out. And that's a problem in itself. Now let's talk about your P&L. A lot of traders are emotionally attached to their P&L. So when they're up on the day or they're up on the week, they feel confident. But when they're down on the day or they're down on the week, they feel stressed, they feel frustrated. Okay? So, with that being said, they are now, the problem at hand here is that they're letting numbers on the screen dictate their emotional and their internal state. And because of that, now their trading decisions are now going to be determined by how they feel. Not their system, not their setup, not their strategy, their emotions. Okay? So that's when traders tend to overtrade when they're down, or they tend to get reckless when they're up, because their identity is now tied to their performance. But you need to understand that your P&L is just data. Your P&L is simply data of probabilities that has played out over a matter of time. And when you're trying to be consistent, when you're trying to be consistent in trading, you cannot determine or rely on emotional highs, and you damn sure can't rely on emotional lows. You need to rely on a constant, stable execution. Okay? Let's talk about loss aversion. aversion is when losing feels twice as painful than winning feels good, right? So even when a trader is profitable overall, one loss can change all of that shit. All of that shit. If they're relying on basically their emotions, okay? And that's why a lot of traders tend to change up their strategy a lot. They change up their strategy a lot because now, because of loss aversion, they're trying to avoid the emotional pain that they feel with that loss. So they're doing anything. So they take a small loss, they're going to revenge trade to try to make that money back as quick as possible so they can stop feeling the pain of that loss. They can stop feeling the emotional pain of that loss. Now, like we said, they tend to change up their strategies. Now, you need to understand, if you're going through loss aversion, you need to understand that losses are a part of the game. You need to be okay with days of not taking trades. You need to be okay with getting the fuck off the charts after a loss. Understand that. Because losses are a part of the game. When you're playing a game of probabilities, you need to understand that losses will come. And when you become a great trader, when you become a pro trader, you need to understand that those type of individuals, they accept losses, they understand losses, they expect losses, and they control their emotions when those losses come about. Period. Now, a lot of traders tend to have a problem with scaling. And that's a simple fix. You're moving too fast. Now, I'm not saying go slow, go super slow. I'm saying allow your nervous system to recalibrate with the amount of money that you're trying to trade with. So, if 50 to 500 is just too much to trade, then you need to understand you need to gradually increase yourself. Gradually increase yourself so that these amounts of money are not you're not looking at these amounts of money as a pedestal. You're not putting these amounts of money on the pedestal. Because once you start to look at these dollar trades as important, you're now putting your emotions into it. Okay? So just to bring all of this together, it all comes down to one thing. You might be shit at trading, or you might be simply struggling with trading, struggling with scaling. Everything ties back into the emotional meaning that you have towards money. So if the emotional meaning that you have towards money is scarce, where you're attaching it to your identity, where you feel like it's scarce, you're going to trade emotionally every time. But when you trade and you actually believe that the money is a tool, or the money is simply a probability, a variable, right? You tend to trade with execution only. You trade with certainty only. You trade with stable execution only. And the question no longer becomes, is it my strategy? The question then becomes, am I in a state where money is not controlling my emotions for me then to execute in this moment? Now, go get your fucking payout, bro. It's been too long. It's been too long, bro. Go rinse them niggas. Because they rinsing you.